Travis, don't you dare walk out over babysitting!
You told me to leave, Lila, so I am.
The sound of Lila slamming cabinet doors at 6 in the morning was my first clue that Saturday was about to go sideways. I'd been up until 3 debugging code for a client's security system, and my brain felt like it had been put through a blender filled with broken glass and regret. Travis, get your lazy ass down here. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I rolled out of bed, pulled on yesterday's jeans, and shuffled downstairs to find my wife of 12 years standing in our kitchen wearing a dress I'd never seen before. Black, tight, and expensive looking. The kind of dress you don't wear to babysit your sister's kids. "You're watching Tammy's 3 Monsters this weekend," she announced, not looking up from her phone. "I need to unwind. You owe me." Nothing says marriage like being voluntold to babysit 3 goblins while your wife goes out to unwind. Again. "Where are you going?" I asked, pouring coffee that tasted like it had been filtered through old socks. "Out with coworkers. We're celebrating Janet's promotion." Janet got promoted 6 months ago. We went to that party. I remembered because Lila spent the whole night texting someone and laughing at her phone like a teenager with a crush. "Which coworkers? Does it matter?" Her voice had that edge that meant I was supposed to drop it. "You never want to go anyway. You hate socializing." She wasn't wrong. I preferred my computer screens to crowds, my drone projects to small talk. But lately, Lila's coworker nights happened every weekend, and she always came home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. What about Tammy's kids? What about them? They're 7, 9, and 11. They're not babies. Feed them pizza, put on a movie, make sure they don't burn the house down. Even you can handle that. The contempt in her voice hit like a slap. Even you, like I was some kind of incompetent child myself. "And if I say no?" Lila finally looked up from her phone, her brown eyes cold as January in Maine. "Then maybe you should pack a bag and leave. I'm tired of being married to a hermit who can't do one simple favor for his wife." The words hung in the air between us like smoke from a house fire. 12 years of marriage, and it had come down to this: babysit or get out. I set down my coffee mug with deliberate care. "You know what, Lila? You're right." Her face brightened with surprise and victory. I should pack a bag and leave. The victory faded in her eyes. "What? You heard me. I'm done being your backup plan and free babysitting service. Find someone else to watch Tammy's kids." I walked upstairs, pulled my old army duffel bag from the closet, and started throwing clothes into it. Lila followed, her heels clicking on the hardwood like angry typewriter keys. "You can't be serious. Travis, don't be dramatic." "Dramatic?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You just told me to leave if I wouldn't babysit. I'm taking your advice." "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew exactly how she'd meant it. I zipped up the bag and slung it over my shoulder. "Have fun with your coworkers. Try not to text Ryder too much during dinner." Her face went white. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not as stupid as you think I am." I walked past her, down the stairs, and out the front door. Behind me, I heard her calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I threw my bag in the back of my pickup truck and drove away from the house we'd bought together when we still believed in forever. 3 blocks away, I pulled into a gas station parking lot and sat there, engine running, hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. 12 years. Gone. Just like that. But as I sat there, something else crept in alongside the shock and hurt. Something that felt suspiciously like relief. My phone buzzed. A text from Lila. "Come home. We need to talk." I deleted it without responding. Another buzz. This time it was Tammy. "Lila says you're sick and can't watch the kids? I already made plans. What am I supposed to do now?" Poor Tammy. She had no idea her sister had just blown up her marriage rather than cancel a night out with her boyfriend. Because that's what Ryder was, even if Lila thought I was too dumb to figure it out. I'd noticed the signs months ago. The new clothes, the sudden interest in going out, the way she'd started showering immediately when she got home from work. The phone always face down, always on silent. And then there were Ryder's hilarious stories that she'd started sharing at dinner. Ryder Kane, Tammy's old friend from high school, the bad boy with the motorcycle and the criminal record that he thought nobody knew about. I'd done a background check on him after the 3rd time Lila mentioned his name. Amazing what you can find when you know how to look. I texted Tammy back. "Sorry. Family emergency. Lila should be able to help." Let's see how that played out. My phone rang immediately. Tammy's number. Travis? What's going on? Lila's crying and saying you walked out. But that doesn't make sense. You guys never fight. We never fought because I never fought back, I said. That changed today. What happened? Ask your sister, but maybe ask her where she's really going tonight first. There was a long pause. What do you mean? I mean, maybe she should spend the weekend watching your kids instead of watching Ryder Kane take his clothes off. I hung up before she could respond. I checked into a motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place that rented rooms by the hour and didn't ask questions. The Pineview Motor Lodge hadn't seen fresh paint since the Clinton administration, but it was clean enough and the Wi-Fi worked. That's all I needed. After settling in, I opened my laptop and started doing what I did best, gathering information. Lila thought I was just a boring IT guy who fixed computers and played with drones. She had no idea that my computer repair business was actually a thriving cybersecurity consulting firm. I helped local businesses protect themselves from hackers, which meant I knew every digital investigation trick in the book. I started with the rideshare apps on our shared phone plan. Lila had been taking Ubers every Saturday for the past 2 months. Same destination every time. 47 Maple Street, apartment 3B. Ryder's address. Next, I pulled up our credit card statements. New Victoria's secret purchases, expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together, a hotel room charge from last month when she'd claimed to be at a work conference in Portland. My phone buzzed with another text from Lila. Please come home. I'm sorry. We can work this out. Too little, too late. I spent the rest of Saturday compiling evidence and planning my next move. By Sunday morning, I had a strategy. It wasn't pretty, but it was thorough. First stop, 47 Maple Street. Ryder lived in one of those generic apartment complexes that looked like it had been designed by someone who'd never actually seen a home before. Beige buildings, beige trim, beige souls. I parked across the street and waited. At 11 a.m., a familiar Honda Civic pulled into the parking lot. Lila got out, looked around nervously, then hurried up to the second floor. She knocked on a door marked 3B. It opened, and there was Ryder Kane in all his greasy glory. Tall, thin, with the kind of goatee that screamed, "I peaked in high school." He pulled her inside, but not before I got several clear photos with my telephoto lens. I was setting up for a longer surveillance session when the door to 3A opened and a guy in his 20s stepped out for a smoke. Perfect. I grabbed a pizza box from my back seat, left over from Friday night, and walked over like I belonged there. "Excuse me," I called to the smoker. "I've got a delivery for 3B, but nobody's answering. You know if Ryder's home?" The guy laughed. "Oh, he's home all right. He's got his girlfriend over. They're probably too busy to hear you knocking." "Girlfriend?" "Yeah, some married chick. She's here every weekend. Sometimes brings pizza, sometimes brings beer. Nice enough, but man, they're loud." He took a drag of his cigarette. "You want me to bang on the wall?" "Nah, I'll come back later. Thanks, though." "No problem. I'm Mick, by the way. I live next door, so I see everything." He grinned. "Whether I want to or not." I pretended to check my phone. "Actually, my boss is going to eliminate me if I don't deliver this. You mind if I leave it with you? Just tell them it's from, I pretended to read the receipt. "Tell them it's from Travis." Mick's face lit up with recognition. "Travis? Dude, she talks about you all the time. You're the husband, right?" "Excuse me?" "Yeah. She's always complaining about her husband, Travis. Says he's boring, never wants to go out, doesn't appreciate her. Ryder thinks it's hilarious." I forced a smile that probably looked like a grimace. "Hilarious. Yeah. Hey, you okay, man? You look kind of pale." "Just tired. Long shift." I handed him the pizza box. "Make sure they get this, okay?" "Sure thing." I walked back to my truck on unsteady legs. She talks about me, to her boyfriend. Complains about me being boring while she's cheating on me in some loser's apartment. The hurt was so sharp it took my breath away. But underneath it, something else was growing. Something cold and calculating and absolutely furious. My phone rang. Tammy. "Travis, what the hell is going on?" I called Lila yesterday and she was crying so hard I couldn't understand her. Then she said she couldn't watch my kids because she had to find you. But when I drove by your house this morning, your truck wasn't there and all the lights were off. "Where are your kids now?" "My neighbor's watching them, but I can't keep imposing. I had plans, Travis. Important plans." "What kind of plans?" "A job interview, the first one I've had in 3 years since my divorce, but I had to cancel because my sister flaked on me." The anger in my chest burned hotter. Tammy was a good person who'd been through hell. Her ex-husband had cleaned out their bank accounts and disappeared, leaving her with 3 kids and a mountain of debt. She'd been trying to get back on her feet ever since, and Lila knew it. Tammy, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. How long have you known about Lila and Ryder? Silence. Then, what about Lila and Ryder? Come on. You introduced them. You had to know something was going on. Travis, I swear I didn't know. I mean, I knew they'd been talking, but I thought it was just friendly. Ryder asked about her after he saw her at my birthday party, and I might have given him her number, but I thought... Her voice trailed off. You thought what? I thought he was just being nice, making conversation. He asked how she was doing, if she was happy, stuff like that. I told him she seemed restless lately, that you guys had been having some problems. What problems? We never talked about problems. No, but... Travis, come on. You had to know she was unhappy. She's been complaining for months about feeling trapped, about wanting to go out more, about you not paying attention to her. So you gave her boyfriend my wife's phone number. He's not her boyfriend. At least I didn't think... Oh God, Travis, are you saying they're... I'm saying your old friend Ryder has been screwing my wife every weekend for the past 2 months, and yesterday she chose him over me. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Tammy? I'm here. I can't believe this. Lila wouldn't do that. She's not that kind of person. She's exactly that kind of person. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What do you mean? I mean, your sister destroyed my marriage and cost you a job interview so she could spend the weekend with her boyfriend. Are you okay with that? Another long pause. When Tammy spoke again, her voice was different, harder. No, I'm not okay with that. Good, because I'm going to need your help. Monday morning found me in the parking lot of Murphy's Tavern, where Lila had worked as a bartender for the past 3 years. I'd brought coffee and donuts for the morning shift manager, Glenn Morrison, who I'd met exactly once at a Christmas party 2 years ago. Glenn was a no-nonsense guy in his 50s who ran Murphy's like a military operation. Clean bar, prompt service, zero tolerance for drama, which made what I was about to tell him very interesting from a business perspective. Travis, right? Lila's husband? Glenn emerged from the back office carrying a clipboard and looking harried. What brings you by? Everything okay? Actually, no. Everything's not okay. I handed him the coffee. I was hoping we could talk privately for a minute. Glenn glanced around the empty bar, then nodded toward a corner booth. What's on your mind? I slid a manila envelope across the table. I think you should know that one of your employees has been violating your fraternization policy. Glenn's eyebrows went up. Come again? Lila's been having an affair with a customer, guy named Ryder Kane. She's been meeting him here after hours, using her key to let him in. I've got photos, timestamps, everything you need. Glenn opened the envelope and examined the contents. Photos of Lila and Ryder entering the bar through the back door at midnight. Security camera screenshots showing them in the storage room. Credit card receipts showing Ryder's tab being comped on nights when Lila worked. Jesus Christ, Glenn muttered. How long has this been going on? At least 2 months, maybe longer. And you're telling me this because? Because she chose him over her marriage, and I thought you should know what kind of liability you're employing. What happens when his girlfriend finds out and decides to make a scene in your bar? What happens when the other employees start wondering why Ryder gets free drinks? What happens when your security cameras end up as evidence in my divorce proceedings? Glenn's face went through several shades of red as he processed the implications. Snake. I knew something was off. Her drawer's been short twice in the past month, and she's been staying late for inventory way too often. There's more. I pulled out my phone and showed him a video. This is from last Saturday night. Your security system uploads to a cloud server, right? Might want to check what else is on there. The video showed Lila and Ryder in the storage room, and while it wasn't pornographic, it was definitely not work-appropriate behavior. Glenn watched for about 10 seconds before shutting off the phone. That's enough. She's done. I'll have her final paycheck ready by end of business today. I appreciate you handling this professionally. Yeah, well, I can't afford to have employees turning my bar into their personal brothel. Insurance nightmare, not to mention what it does to workplace morale. He stood up, still clutching the envelope. Travis, I'm sorry this happened to you. Lila seemed like good people. People aren't always what they seem. I left Murphy's feeling satisfied, but not finished. Lila losing her job was just the beginning. Next stop, a meeting with Tammy at a coffee shop downtown. I found her in a corner booth, looking like she hadn't slept much. Her 3 kids were in school, giving us a rare opportunity to talk without interruption. I keep thinking I should have seen it, she said without preamble. The signs were all there, weren't they? Don't blame yourself. She's good at lying. She's had years of practice. Tammy stirred her coffee absently. I called her yesterday, told her I knew about Ryder. She denied it at first, then broke down and admitted everything, said it just happened, that she never meant for it to go this far. What else did she say? That you were cold and distant, that you never paid attention to her anymore, that she felt invisible in her own marriage. Tammy looked up at me. Is that true? I considered the question seriously. Maybe. Work's been busy, and I'm not great at the romantic gesture stuff. But I never cheated on her. I never lied to her. And I never asked her to choose between me and babysitting your kids. She said you walked out over babysitting. I walked out because she told me to. She said if I wouldn't watch your kids, I should pack a bag and leave. So I did. Tammy shook her head in disgust. She cost me that job interview for nothing. The position's already been filled. I'm sorry about that, really. It's not your fault. She leaned forward. You said you needed my help. What did you have in mind? I pulled out my phone and opened the photos from yesterday morning. I need you to send these to Ryder's girlfriend. He has a girlfriend? Cass Morrison. They've been together for 2 years. Live together, joint bank account, the whole thing. She has no idea he's been cheating. Tammy stared at the photos. This feels wrong. What feels wrong? Telling the truth? Destroying people's lives. I'm not destroying anything. Lila and Ryder already did that. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. Tammy was quiet for a long moment. Then, what's Cass like? I've never met her, but I did some research. She's a nurse at Maine Medical, works double shifts to support Ryder while he finds himself as a musician. She deserves to know what he's doing with her money. How do you know all this? I'm good with computers. Tammy looked at the photos again, then back at me. If I do this, there's no going back, for any of us. There's already no going back. The question is whether we're going to be the only ones paying the price. She nodded slowly, then held out her hand for my phone. What's her number? I gave her Cass's contact information and watched as she composed a message. Hi, you don't know me, but I think you should see these. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. A friend. She hit send before she could change her mind. Now what? She asked. Now we wait, and we document everything. Because when this all goes to court, I want to make sure the judge knows exactly who did what to whom. My phone buzzed with a text from Lila. Glenn fired me. I know this was you. We need to talk. I showed the message to Tammy, who read it and shook her head. She still doesn't get it, does she? She thinks this is something you did to her, not something she did to herself. Cheaters always think they're the victim, I said, right up until reality hits them in the face. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Travis Redden? The voice was female, young, and shaking with rage. Yes. This is Cass Morrison. I just got some very interesting photos from your sister-in-law. I think we should meet. Cass Morrison turned out to be nothing like what I'd expected. I'd pictured someone soft and naive, the kind of person who'd let a loser like Ryder take advantage of her. Instead, the woman who walked into the diner Tuesday evening was tall, athletic, and radiating the kind of controlled fury that comes from years of dealing with difficult people in high-stress situations. You must be Travis. She slid into the booth across from me, her green eyes sharp as broken glass. Thank you for having your sister-in-law reach out. I've been wondering why Ryder's been so happy lately. How long have you suspected? Honestly, I didn't. I thought he was finally getting his act together. He's been in a good mood, helping around the apartment, even talking about getting a real job. She laughed bitterly. Turns out he was just getting laid regularly. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not. She pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages. I confronted him an hour ago. Want to see how that went? The messages were a masterclass in deflection and blame shifting. Ryder claimed it wasn't serious, that Lila had pursued him, that Cass was overreacting. He accused her of being controlling and paranoid. The final message read, maybe if you weren't working all the time, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere for attention. Charming, I said. Right? 2 years of supporting his music career, and this is what I get. She put the phone away. So what's the plan? Plan? Come on. You didn't have me meet you here just to commiserate. You want revenge, and frankly, so do I. I studied her face, looking for signs that this was a trap or a test. All I saw was cold determination. What did you have in mind? Well, for starters, Ryder's been using my car to meet your wife. My car that I make the payments on. I'm thinking it's time for me to report it stolen. That seems extreme. Does it? He took my car without permission to go cheat on me. In some states, that's actually theft. She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. But I'm not vindictive. I'll give him a chance to bring it back. Tonight, along with his stuff. You're kicking him out? I'm kicking him out. The lease is in my name, the utilities are in my name, and I'm tired of playing mommy to a 39-year-old man-child. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lila. I know you're behind Glenn firing me. This is ridiculous. I made one mistake and you're trying to ruin my life. I showed the message to Cass, who snorted in disgust. One mistake? How many Saturday afternoons equal one mistake? In Lila's math? All of them, apparently. What's she doing for work now? No idea. She's been staying at a motel since I changed the locks on our house. You changed the locks? I changed everything. Locks, passwords, bank accounts. 12 years of marriage, and she threw it away for a guy who can't even afford his own car. Cass was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something personal? Shoot. Do you still love her? The question hit harder than I'd expected. Did I still love Lila? The woman who'd shared my bed for 12 years, who knew how I took my coffee and which side of the bed I preferred? Or did I love the memory of who she used to be before she decided I wasn't enough anymore? I love who she was, I said finally. I'm not sure that person exists anymore. Yeah, I get that. My phone rang. Ryder's number. I looked at Cass, who nodded. Travis, we need to talk, man. This whole thing is getting out of hand. Is it? Come on, don't play dumb. Cass is freaking out. Lila's crying. Everyone's acting like the world is ending. It's not that serious. You're right, it's not serious. That's why you should have no problem staying away from my wife. Look, I never meant for anyone to get hurt. It just happened, you know? Sometimes people connect. Sometimes married people honor their commitments. Jesus, you sound like my father. This isn't the 1950s, Travis. People have needs. You're right again. I have needs too, like the need to not be married to a cheater. There was a pause. What's that supposed to mean? It means I filed for divorce this morning. Lila should be getting served tomorrow. Shit. Travis, don't you think you're overreacting? Maybe you guys can work this out. We could have worked it out before she started screwing you. Now? Not so much. Look, if it makes you feel better, I'll back off. Lila and I can cool it for a while. The casual way he said it, like my marriage was just an inconvenience he could work around, made something snap inside my chest. Here's what's going to happen, Ryder. You're going to stay away from Lila. You're going to stay away from me, and you're going to hope I don't decide to share your little secret with your parole officer. Silence. That's right, I continued. I know about the drug charges. I know about the suspended sentence. I know about the community service you've been skipping. How do you think Officer Martinez would feel about your recent activities? You snake. Probably. But I'm a snake with documentation and nothing left to lose. Test me. I hung up and looked at Cass, who was staring at me with something like admiration. Parole officer? He got busted selling pills 2 years ago. Pled down to possession, got 2 years suspended sentence and community service. He's supposed to check in monthly and stay out of trouble. How did you find that out? I'm very good with computers. Remind me never to piss you off. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I showed it to Cass. Well, she said, looks like he's not taking the breakup well. His problem, not ours. Actually, it might be our problem. Ryder's got a temper when he's cornered, and you just cornered him pretty thoroughly. As if summoned by her words, my phone rang again. This time it was Lila. Travis, what did you say to Ryder? He's furious. He's talking about coming to find you. Let him come. This isn't a game. He's really upset. Good. Maybe he'll do something stupid and save me the trouble of reporting him to his parole officer. You wouldn't. Try me. Travis, please. I know I messed up, but this has gone far enough. People are getting hurt. You should have thought about that before you chose him over me. I never chose him over you. I made a mistake. I was confused and lonely, and I made a terrible mistake. You made a choice, Lila. Every Saturday for 2 months, you made a choice. Every lie you told me, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended to be faithful, you made a choice. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, and now you get to live with the consequences. I hung up and turned off my phone. Cass was watching me carefully. You okay? I'm fine. No, you're not, but you will be. She was right. I wasn't okay. I was angry and hurt and betrayed and probably making decisions I'd regret later. But for the first time in months, I felt like I was in control of my own life. What happens now? I asked. Now we wait and see how stupid Ryder really is. We didn't have to wait long. Ryder turned out to be very stupid indeed. At 2 a.m, he showed up at my motel room drunk and belligerent, pounding on the door and shouting about how I'd ruined his life. The night clerk called the police, and Ryder got arrested for public intoxication and disturbing the peace. I found out about it Wednesday morning when Cass called me, laughing so hard she could barely speak. He violated his parole, she managed between giggles. Any arrest, even for something minor, is a violation. His parole officer is recommending he serve the remainder of his original sentence. How long? 18 months. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It gets better. Apparently he called Lila from jail, asking her to bail him out. She hung up on him. That afternoon, I met with my divorce attorney to review the final paperwork. Margaret Chen was a sharp woman in her 50s who specialized in high-conflict divorces. She'd taken one look at my evidence and smiled like a shark. "This is the most thorough documentation I've seen in 20 years of practice," she said, flipping through the folder. "Photos, financial records, witness statements, digital evidence. Your wife's attorney is going to have a very bad day." "When's the hearing?" "Friday morning. Judge Patterson is presiding, and he has zero patience for adultery cases, especially when there's this much evidence. What should I expect? Full custody of all marital assets, including the house. She'll get whatever she brought into the marriage and whatever she can prove she earned independently. Given that she's been unemployed for a week and has no savings, that's not much." "I don't want to destroy her. I just want out." "Travis, she destroyed herself. You're just documenting the damage." Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical Maine weather for late October. I put on my best suit and drove to the courthouse, where Margaret was waiting with a briefcase full of evidence and a confidence that bordered on smugness. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready." Lila was already inside with her attorney, a young public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She'd lost weight in the past week, and her usual put-together appearance had been replaced by something desperate and frayed around the edges. She tried to catch my eye as I sat down, but I focused on the judge instead. Judge Patterson was exactly what Margaret had promised, a stern man in his 60s with no patience for nonsense. He reviewed the case file quickly, then looked up at both attorneys. "This seems straightforward. Mrs. Redden, do you contest any of the evidence presented by your husband?" Lila's attorney whispered something to her. She shook her head. "No, Your Honor." "Do you contest the grounds for divorce?" "No, Your Honor." "Oh, very well. Given the clear evidence of adultery and the respondent's admission of guilt, I'm granting the divorce as requested. Mr. Redden retains all marital assets, including the family home. Mrs. Redden is awarded her personal belongings and her vehicle. This court is adjourned." The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. I walked out of the courthouse a free man, but the victory felt hollow. 12 years of marriage, reduced to a 10-minute hearing and a stack of legal papers. Lila caught up with me in the parking lot. "Travis, wait." I turned around. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. "I'm sorry," she said. "For everything. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know." "I know you're sorry. Do you think someday we might be able to be friends again?" I looked at her for a long moment, this woman I'd loved and planned a future with. "I don't know, Lila. Maybe, but not today." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand." I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her standing in the rain. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That evening, I was packing up Lila's remaining belongings when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Through the window, I saw Ryder's beat-up Camaro. Apparently, he'd made bail. He got out of the car and started walking toward the house, moving with the deliberate care of someone who'd been drinking. A lot. I opened the front door before he could knock. "You're not welcome here." "We need to talk." His words were slurred, and he smelled like he'd bathed in whiskey. "No, we don't. Get off my property." "You ruined everything. Lila, Cass, my whole life. You couldn't just let it go, could you?" "I didn't ruin anything. You did that all by yourself." He took a step closer, swaying slightly. "You think you're so smart. Think you're better than me." "I think I'm smarter than someone who violates his parole to come threaten the guy who already destroyed his life once." "You haven't destroyed anything yet." "Haven't I? You're facing 18 months in prison. Your girlfriend kicked you out. The woman you were cheating with won't take your calls. Exactly what part of your life is still intact?" His face went red with rage. "Shut up. Or what? You'll hit me? Go ahead. I've got security cameras recording this whole conversation. Give me a reason to call the police." He looked around and spotted the cameras mounted under the eaves. Some of the fight went out of him. "This isn't over," he said, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. "Yeah, it is. It's been over since you decided to sleep with my wife. Everything since then has just been cleaning up the mess." He stood there for another moment, then turned and walked back to his car. But instead of leaving, he got something out of the trunk, a baseball bat. "Ryder, don't be stupid." Too late for that. He walked over to my truck and smashed the driver's side window. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "I need police at 47 Oak Street. A man is destroying my property with a baseball bat." Ryder heard me and looked up, bat still in his hands. For a moment, I thought he might come after me next. Instead, he dropped the bat and ran for his car. He peeled out of the driveway just as I heard sirens in the distance. The police caught him 6 blocks away, still drunk and now fleeing the scene of a crime. This time, there would be no bail. 3 months later, I was sitting in my kitchen on a Saturday morning, drinking coffee and reading the news on my tablet. The house was quiet, clean, and entirely mine. Lila's things were gone, her presence erased as if she'd never lived there at all. My phone rang. Tammy's number. "Hey, Travis, how are you doing?" "Good. Really good, actually. What's up?" "I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For helping me see what Lila really was, and for giving me the push I needed to get my life together." "What do you mean?" "I got a good job, marketing coordinator for a nonprofit downtown. It pays well, has benefits, and I can work from home 2 days a week." "That's fantastic, Tammy. I'm really happy for you." I never would have applied if this whole mess hadn't happened. I was too comfortable letting other people take care of me, you know? Lila, my ex-husband, even you to some extent. This forced me to stand on my own feet. "You always had it in you." "Maybe, but I needed a push." She paused. "Have you heard from her lately?" "No. You?" "She called last week. She's working at a diner in Portland, living in a studio apartment. She wanted to know if I thought you'd ever forgive her." "What did you tell her?" "I told her forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and some things can't be undone." That's probably the wisest thing anyone said about this whole situation. She's my sister and I love her, but what she did was unforgivable. Not just to you, but to me too. She cost me that job interview, and she used my friendship with Ryder to justify her affair. "Have you talked to her since?" "No. I told her I needed space to figure out how I felt about everything. Honestly, I don't miss the drama. My life is so much calmer without her stirring up trouble every week." After we hung up, I went back to my coffee and my quiet Saturday morning. No demands to babysit other people's kids, no lies to navigate around, no walking on eggshells to avoid setting off someone else's guilty conscience. Just peace. My doorbell rang around noon. I opened it to find Cass Morrison standing on my porch, holding a bottle of wine and smiling. "I was in the neighborhood," she said. "Thought I'd stop by and see how you were doing." "I'm doing well. Come in." She'd changed since I'd first met her. The angry, betrayed woman had been replaced by someone confident and self-possessed. The nursing scrubs were gone, replaced by jeans and a sweater that suggested she was finally spending her money on herself instead of supporting a lazy boyfriend. "Nice place," she said, looking around the living room. "Very peaceful. It is now." "Any word on when Ryder gets out?" 15 months, if he behaves himself, which is a big if. "Think he'll come after you when he gets out?" "I doubt it. Prison has a way of giving people perspective on what's really important. Besides, I'll be ready if he does." She nodded approvingly. "You know, I never thanked you properly." "For what?" "For showing me the truth. I wasted 2 years of my life on that loser, but I might have wasted more if you hadn't opened my eyes. You would have figured it out eventually." "Maybe, but probably not before he'd done even more damage." She opened the wine and poured 2 glasses. "To new beginnings." "To new beginnings." We drank, and she told me about her life since Ryder's arrest. She'd gotten a promotion at work, started taking art classes, and was thinking about buying a house. For the first time in years, she was making decisions based on what she wanted instead of what someone else needed. "What about you?" she asked. "Any plans for the future?" "I'm thinking about expanding the business, maybe hiring some employees, taking on bigger clients. I've got the space and the freedom to really focus on work for the first time in years." "No thoughts about dating?" I considered the question. "Not yet. I'm still figuring out who I am as a single person. 12 years is a long time to be half of a couple." "I get that. But when you're ready, there are good people out there. People who won't take your loyalty for granted." She stayed for dinner, and we talked about everything except our exes. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in months. After she left, I sat on my porch watching the sunset and thinking about second chances. Lila had thrown away 12 years for a few months of excitement with a loser who couldn't even support himself. She'd gambled everything on the idea that the grass was greener somewhere else, and she'd lost. But maybe that was okay. Maybe some marriages were meant to end, and maybe some people were meant to find out who they really were when everything they thought they knew about themselves got stripped away. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Lila. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some conversations were over, some chapters were closed, some people became part of your past instead of your future, and that was just how life worked. I went inside, locked the door, and got ready for bed. Tomorrow was Sunday, and for the first time in months, I had absolutely no obligations to anyone but myself. It was going to be a good day. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Lila at the grocery store. She was thinner than I remembered, her hair shorter, her clothes less expensive. She looked tired, but not unhappy. Travis. She seemed genuinely surprised to see me. Lila, how are you? I'm okay, working, staying out of trouble. You? Good. Business is good. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Two people who used to share everything and now had nothing to say to each other. I heard Cass Morrison has been by your house a few times, she said finally. News travels fast in a small town. Are you two? We're friends, good friends. She nodded. I'm glad. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I'm working on it. Therapy mostly. Trying to figure out why I threw away the best thing in my life for someone who didn't give a damn about me. Any insights? A few. Turns out I was more selfish than I wanted to admit. And more scared of getting older than I realized. We all make mistakes. Not like that. Not mistakes that hurt innocent people. She looked directly at me for the first time. I'm sorry, Travis. Really sorry. Not because I got caught or because I lost everything, but because I hurt you. You didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. If I could take it back. But you can't. And honestly, I'm not sure I'd want you to anymore. She looked surprised. Really? Really. I'm happier now than I was then. Turns out I was settling for less than I deserved too. She smiled, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago. I'm glad one of us figured it out. You'll figure it out too. Just try not to hurt anyone else while you do. I will. I won't. Hurt anyone else. I nodded and started to walk away, then turned back. Lila? Yeah? For what it's worth, I forgive you. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you. I walked away and didn't look back. Some stories end with revenge, some with reconciliation, and some with simple acceptance of what was and what is. This one ended with me loading groceries into my truck and driving home to a house where I could be myself without apology, where I could make my own choices without having to negotiate with someone who'd already decided I wasn't enough. Cass was waiting on my porch with takeout from the Thai place downtown and a smile that suggested she'd missed me during the 2 days she'd been visiting her sister in Boston. How was the grocery store? She asked. Educational. Good educational or bad educational? Good. Definitely good. We went inside together, and I told her about running into Lila while we ate pad thai and watched a movie neither of us paid much attention to. How do you feel about seeing her? Cass asked during the credits. Relieved, mostly, like closing a book I'd been carrying around for too long. And now? Now I'm exactly where I want to be, with exactly the person I want to be with. She kissed me then, and it tasted like new beginnings and second chances and all the things I'd thought I'd lost when my marriage ended. Outside, it started to rain, but inside we were warm and dry and building something honest from the ground up. Some revenge is a dish best served cold, but the best revenge is a life well lived, surrounded by people who choose you every day instead of settling for you until something better comes along.